fellow Amazonians, friends and sympathizers of ABC TV, friends and sympathizers of the Amazonian struggle. This is the voice of the Amazonian woman on ABC TV, The Horizon. You are all welcome. Please, we just want to apologize for the late start, few minutes late. We plead your indulgence. Please bear with us that we are starting a little bit late. Just as you stay tuned, please keep your seat tight. For today, we have an exclusive program. As you can already see on your screen, I am here with our able barrister Ghana, who is going to water down, who is going to freshen up, who is going to make up, make over, who is going to tell us in the best form, in the highest form, in the exclusive, intelligent form, whatever you might want to know about the Amazonian struggle, what you might have forgotten, he's going to freshen us. I don't know, along the line, maybe the technical crew will be able to open the lines with the number, the telephone number I'm going to give. One or two persons might want to ask their questions. Fellow Amazonians, once again, we are sorry for the late start and we ask of you to bear with us. Today is a wonderful day. It's another Friday. Just be with us and have your time going. Barrister Ghana, I open the floor to you. Greet the Amazonian people. Your bio, your portfolio. I don't know if I should give it here or you should give it out there, but I will leave that to you to talk to the Amazonian people. Once again, Barrister Ghana, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, Ma Rachel, for that very eloquent introduction. And thank you also for the great work that you do in trying to usher forward the process or the uh, or our drive to regain our sovereignty. Thanks to all those who have tuned in. But before I start, kudos and thanks to all our heroes on the home front who are doing their in all in their might to defend our sovereignty, to defend our statehood, to defend our righteous right to self determination. Uh, I want to offer my condolence to all those who've lost life or limb in the course of pursuing our emancipation quest. Uh, as we see around the world and as we see in current events that are unfolding, the price of freedom never comes cheap. But Ambazonians are determined with every fiber of their body to regain their sovereignty, and that we shall do. Uh, as you already know about me, I've delved into a lot of things. I'm a lawyer. I'm a project manager. I'm an economist. I am an accountant. A lot of professions that I've dabbled in. I'm an engineer as well. But the most pleasing title that I have is that of Servant of Ambazonia. You know, all these experiences that I have had will will be most optimized, in my view, if they are brought to the service of Ambazonia in doing everything I can, as a lot of people are doing, all in their might, to keep to the vision, to keep to the movement, to ensure that we who believe in our statehood, we who recognize our right to statehood, are like the stamp that attaches itself to the envelope. And that letter, which is the emancipation of our statehood, will not get there unless that stamp stays attached to the envelope. So I call on the audience to stay attached to the movement, to continue to provide support and comfort to all those who are doing all in their utmost to pursue this emancipation case. For victory, without a doubt, shall be ours. Thank you, Marashel.
Thank you, Barrister Ghana, for that explicit presentation um, of yourself, and you couldn't have said it better than anybody, because if you do not know yourself, if you can't say yourself, nobody will be able to say it there for you. And the one that pleases me the most is the one you say the highest title you will ever enjoy is the fact that you are a servant to the Amazonian quest for us to regain our sovereignty. And that is the title. If you are an Amazonian and you are not yet vying for this, if you have not had it in your life, if you have not acquired this title, servant, for us to regain the sovereignty of our statehood, then every other statute is just as they say, that one Nigeria. So, fellow Amazonians, mami and papa dem, dis man wey una dey see am wey dey for screen so, na our big brother. Na he say be, no be he talk am o, he say he go school, he be lawyer, he be manager, he be all kind engineer, all dat thing dem wey name am for you. Yeah, he don look left, he don look right, he don see am say all dis thing dem no mean nothing, because since wey get all dis thing dem never get peace, he no even get peace of mind. He dey turn, he dey do dat, he dey do dis, but he no get peace of mind. So wetin wey he don decide now for do na say he decide for take title say na he be servant. And una know who be servant. Servant na person wey he dey serve people dem. He dey put people their own interest. He dey put people their interest in front than any other person e own. He no mind say he be lawyer, he be this, he be engineer, he be manager. He no mind other one. The one wey sweet for im heart na say my people dem dey suffer for our country. Me, he don't know all how to enjoy, but he don't talk say may make am too many people dey enjoy. Yes, Barrister Ghana, I will come back to you. Huh. I know you somehow. I know you in the struggle. I know you at the LGA. I know you at the county. I know you at the federal level. I know you at all the levels. So I don't even know where to start. But then, for the fact that, but for the fact that our struggle is concerned, there are some key things that you know that I have been privileged to be present at some places that you do the presentation, where you explain the background, the overview of Ambazonia, how far we've come, where we were. Fellow Ambazonians, don't say that we are hearing too many of the stories of Ambazonia. If you did not listen to our history, if you did not listen to the other programs, you are listening to the horizon. Please, it can never be too much. It can only be too less, and it leads to ignorance. Better you get it too much and gain knowledge. That is why I will plead with you that listen to Barrister Ghana, listen to another version of the same story. I bet you are not going to miss out. Barrister Ghana, I leave to you the overview of Ambazonia, where we are coming from, where we are going to, what we have in stock, what we envisage, what we think it should be, how it should be. It is left unto you. With all the wisdom God has endowed you, please talk to the Ambazonian people.
The first thing I want to tell the Ambazonian people is that one, stay the course. And number two, refer to one, stay the course. We are, when we say this revolution is God ordained, I have no doubt in my bone, I have no doubt in my spine, I have no doubt in my fiber that this revolution is one that God has called us, God Almighty has called us to prosecute towards completion. And that completion, that final destination point, is the total independence and the regaining of the sovereignty of Ambazonia. A little bit about me in this struggle. You know, I was called to this struggle from when I was about 13 years. You know, and 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 I've tried to get out. I'm not going to say and I've stayed the course. I've tried to waver. I've tried to get out, but they say you can take yourself out of the struggle, but you cannot take the struggle out of you. You can take you can take yourself out of the emancipation quest, but you cannot take the emancipation quest out of you. Um, as a student in Cameroon, we had back in the 80s, early 80s, we had already identified and recognized that this was going to end up in warfare. And as a little teenager growing up in Ambazonia, uh, I dreamt about this war that is happening. It's so interesting that you dream of something, and then when you used to dream about it, it used to appear in a vivid way. I saw bullets flying, people fighting, warfare, and when I used to dream about it, at that time wars were going on in Africa, like in Sudan, like in Angola, like in Mozambique, like in Ethiopia, and other areas. And I had seen how devastating these wars were, and I used to think to myself, "Wow, not here. I hope this never comes to pass." But you could not disagree, or I could not disagree with those dreams at those teenage years of mine, because you could see abundantly that we Ambazonians did not belong to La République du Cameroon. The laws, some of them which we were still to find out, told us that explicitly. And La République du Cameroon, in the way it acted, was consistent with the fact that Ambazonia was not legitimately part of La République du Cameroon. That Ambazonia was just an attachment, that the southern Cameroons were just an attachment that La République and France could exploit as it wished. So, uh, so some of us already knew that this was going to end up in warfare. And I'll tell you this, and to some of our fighters who are on the ground, when I graduated from high school in Cameroon, I had no interest in 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 coming abroad. My goal was to attend the military academy in Yaoundé and get military training, because this day was coming, and some of us thought we needed to get that training so that we could lead the fight from the bush. I mean, we knew it was unavoidably coming, and so this God ordained revolution is something that was foreseeable, predictable, and was unmistakably going to happen. And even when I came to the United States, I remember in 1994, I sought to join the military academy in the US, because I knew that getting that military training was was going to be very important. But then I was an F1 student in the United States, and as a student, they would not allow you to join the military at that time. So again, this warfare that we are fighting to defend our homeland was foreseeable, and some of us tried to take those actions to sort of prepare for this day. And even after experiencing all the experiences in corporate America, working as an accountant, going into engineering, excelling there, doing project management in the engineering slash telecom space, uh, excelling there, working on some very cutting edge wireless technologies in the United States. I still thought uh, uh, there would there would be a vacuum if I did not prepare myself for this struggle. So I left management in telecom, and I went to law school. You know, and my main purpose of going to law school was to be able to speak for our struggle, because I knew this was coming. And lo and behold, I started law school in 2014. This struggle started in
And even
2015.
after experiencing all the experiences,
15. So this definitely was coming. And one blessing that going to law school gave me, especially at that age in my life, was that it was able to enable me focus. Go into the UN archives, read the UN files, read the the text of our authoritative sources of autonomy, such as UN Resolution 1608, UN Resolution 1514XV, 1350, 1952. All of those UN resolutions, as in law school, in fact, I took an independent study class that I did for a year alongside my other studies there, just to do research, go into those files, be able to understand how we transition from the Treaty of Versailles in 1920 to the end of the First World War, transitioning to from being a trust territory to being governed from Eastern Nigeria down until 1953 when we broke away from the Eastern House of Assembly to serve government in Boya, and how we transitioned from there to this unholy union, this charade of an unholy union with French Cameroon. So I had the blessing of studying all of that, and that's why I speak confidently that autonomy is a right, independence is a right, statehood is a right, and we have all the instruments to back that. So to Ambazonians, I say yes, there might be a little bit of squabbles left and right, but let's not get deviated by the triviality of some individuals. Let's stay the course towards emancipating our statehood. I know at the AASC2 in Washington, we were there. The Constituent Assembly restored the Honorable Ngom Bobejua government. Honorable Ngom Bobejua was the last legitimate premier of the Southern Cameroon. He was forcefully overthrown in 1968, and Ahidjo and his instruments and his aides then embarked full-fledged on the course to deconstruct or attempt to deconstruct the Southern Cameroon. So we restored that government, the government of Honorable Ngom Bobejua, and we are right on course towards pursuing again our statehood. And I ask all Ambazonians to stay the course. So thank you again, Ma Rachel, for asking me to kind of explain that.
Yes, fellow Amazonians, thank you very much, Barrister Ghana. Fellow Amazonians, thank you for staying tuned. We are staying the course. No matter what, the enemy is working very hard to water down our zeal to have our homeland, our right to have our homeland. We will keep pushing. Remember the statement we all said, even till the last man standing. At the same time, we say till we get our sovereignty restored. So, no matter who or what groups, persons out there doing whatever they are doing, thinking that they have gotten it finally, remember, they say the beautiful ones are not yet born. Every day, God brings up one person to continue the course. We will continue to talk. That is what will take everybody. We are just passing. We are just passing through this land, through this world. You go today, I will go tomorrow. If you think you can precipitate that of another person because you think you will stay, no, you don't know what is behind you. So I say this because it has happened again. The enemy has hit us hard, but we are going to keep pushing. We will push until we will get to Boya. God Almighty will continue to raise men and women who will speak for Amazonia. Death, as I say, is a customer, is a visitor to everybody. Brother, you will stay strong. Barrister Ghana, I don't want to go outrightly on this page, but I know what I'm reading and it has happened again, but God is with us. We will keep fighting. Yeah. Barrister, yes, you have already mentioned. I was very pleased when you were outlining the resolutions that you learned in law schools. You know, your passion to save Amazonia at the age of 13. One will say, ah, this man dey lie. 13 years, if you don't know, say wetin go happen. But ladies and gentlemen, Jesus, if e start na for which time? Una go still tell me say um if e be ordained from the womb. But then many people are ordained from the womb, because how many people are brave enough to brace it, to carry sticks to confront the enemy? How many people are brave enough to say, I will not soil myself with corruption, I will stand for my nation? How many people know that you were born a leader? You were born to sacrifice. Barrister Ghana, I would just like you, when you talk of Resolution 1352, the other resolution that you named out there, some people may be wondering, how does it help in our Amazonian struggle? I would just like you maybe to use that one to encourage the people to say, this is what Resolution 1315 was, this is what the resolution, this was. So we are using it today. And if we use it, this is how it is succeeding for, and we can succeed, or it can work for us, or it is already working for us. So I'd just like you to highlight on that.
Thank you very much, Ma Ara. First of all, just going back to the my infancy or my birth into the struggle, you would want to know that some of us had already spent time in jail in Cameroon, 1985, when La Republique tried to change our educational system. Some of us organized the strikes, which you saw principally in the Northwest, and we stopped the government of LRC from doing that. And some of us paid the price by being locked up at the Social Security in
No,
Bamenda, and we
Amanda.
spent, yeah, in Bamenda, we spent close to about 2 months there, paying a price for standing up. And so the history of our people standing up, we identify very much with that, because right way back then, even before there was there was the SDF, some of us had already spent time in jail, and not only protesting against things like uh, trying to change our educational system and bastardize us. But I think that during that time also, His Royal Highness von Dinka, who had written things like the pamphlets like the New Social Order, Dissolve the Time Bomb, was locked up in Kondengi in Yaoundé. So we also advocated for his release, because he also foresaw all what was happening and tried to caution the French Cameroon government. But you see, sometimes when God wants to liberate a people, it hardens the hearts of tyrants. So, but back to these resolutions that I mentioned here, a lot of the resolutions leading up to 1514 and 1608 were just preparatory resolutions. Sometimes they would meet like in the UN decolonization committee, and they will come up with a resolution to kind of and this was like 1958, 1959. All of these resolutions were kind of sizing up both Britain and France, where they were in their steps towards granting independence to both French Cameroon and the Southern Cameroons. So, but the two, what I will call in law, there is something that they call the the modus operandi of a fact. You know, the two resolutions that have that locus in our struggle, or in our quest for our autonomy, as 1608 and 1514 XV. Let me start with 1608, because 1608 was drafted before 1514 passed in the UN General Assembly on 15th of December 1960. So 1608 was kind of a resolution in that came out of the decolonization committee to sort of liberate or grant independence to the Southern Cameroons, because we're self-governing in Boya, but our independence had not yet been granted to us. And And if you look in that decolonization committee, and if you read all the transcripts in there, you already see gimmicks that were being played in an attempt to deprive the Southern Cameroons of its independence. Uh, for example, if you go to some of those resolutions prior, they would ask England, because it was England and Ireland. You know, they would ask England and Ireland what steps they were taking. Uh, they will not be very forthright on specific dates of granting our independence, but the United Nations had demanded of them, because England was an administrator, but we were not a colony of theirs. You know, we were still a territory. We were still a UN trust te- territory. So at no point did French Cameroon or the Southern Cameroons become a territory of either France or England. They were just guardians as trustees, overseeing or administering those territories on behalf of the UN, with no right to deal in those territories to others. So 1608 was crafted towards giving independence to the Southern Cameroons. And we were supposed, consistent with mandates in the UN, we're supposed to have outright independence, not independence with attachment of us to any other nation out there. So 1608, again, that was voted on April 21st, 1961. I think the vote was 64 to 23 in favor, uh, granted our independence. But it granted our independence conditioned on the two parties that they had suggested that we get independence in association as a state with French Cam, Cameroon, that they
Yes.
grant our independence through a union treaty. If you read 1608 Article 5, it explicitly states that the administering authority, which is Great Britain here, and the governing authority, which was the executive leadership of the Southern Cameroon, at that time headed by Foncha, who had won an election in the Southern Cameroons in 1959. So the administering authority, the executive authority of Southern Cameroons and French Cameroon will sit down to decide on the modalities of the union, if they so wanted a union, as suggested by the plebiscite. So a lot of people think that because we win and voted in a plebiscite meant that we're automatically going to be part of French Cameroon. Legally, that is nonsense. A plebiscite is just a suggestion from the people. A plebiscite is not a binding authority. A plebiscite has to be then, the modalities of the plebiscite now have to be worked on by both sides, or in this sense, as the UN had mandated. The governing authority, again, the government of Foncha, the administering authority, Great Britain here, and French Cameroon. Since these were the three parties concerned, they had to meet to draft a union treaty to decide on what kind of state they were going to have. And the plebiscite directives. A lot of one thing that people need to understand also is that the people went to the polls to vote based on plebiscite directives. The plebiscite directives outrightly stated that if we're going to join the Federation of Nigeria, these were going to be our rights. And if we're going to join French Cameroon, these were going to be our rights: control over our agriculture, control over our resources, control over our school system, control over our police force. Gendarmes were never supposed to step foot in the Southern Cameroons, consistent with the plebiscite directives of, of that time, going in to vote on April 21st. So, but that Treaty of Union never took place. That Treaty of Union was replaced by some sort of a sham. called the Fumban Conference. And going back to 1959, again, just to educate our people and to inform our people, uh, in 1959, in August, all the chiefs and the leaders and the political parties had met in Manfe in what they call the All Party Conference there. And they met because the UN wanted to give in, because UN resolutions expressly stated that independence should be granted to countries and to territories based on the wishes of the people. So the chiefs and all the political leaders, they met in Manfe in August of 1959 to decide if they were gonna stay, if the articles or the dictates of the plebiscite were going to be us getting independent by staying in Nigeria and becoming a separate region, or if we're going to get independent by joining French Cameroon. And there, the chiefs decided that if we're going to have a plebiscite, the plebiscite should be a choice between joining Nigeria and staying as a separate region in Nigeria or having outright independence. The chiefs already had that vote, and that vote came down. It was a vote of 67 to about 23, or no, 67 to 33%. So an overwhelming majority already voted and instructed the UN that if there was going to be a plebiscite, the choices in the plebiscite should be between staying in Nigeria and staying or joining Nigeria and becoming an independent region of Nigeria, or outright independence. The other choice that the chiefs discussed at the Manfe conference in 1959 was if the other alternative could be having independence, or having the terms of the plebiscite be between joining Nigeria or joining French Cameroon. That was the second option. The first option, again, remember, was between joining Nigeria and outright independence. By a supermajority, the chiefs and the political leaders already at the Manfe conference rejected that option of the
Joining
choice at the
Nigeria.
plebiscite. The choice at the plebiscite. They rejected the option of the choice at the plebiscite being between joining French Cameroon and joining Nigeria. But somehow it was maneuvered to still have that choice to be the vote at the plebiscite. And this is why sometimes it's good to also look at yourself in the mirror and have some critical self-examination. We should have outrightly rejected even going to the polls at the plebiscite, because the chiefs and the political leaders had already decided that the choice of joining French Cameroon should be out of the question. How that came up to be a choice at the plebiscite, one also has to scratch their head and in reviewing that malpractice that was done on the people. So fast forward to 1961, they are already crafting this resolution 1608, which again we are going to have this plebiscite, where the rightful choice at the plebiscite has already been trivialized. It has been abrogated. Now, UN Resolution 1514 comes out of the General Assembly, voted on 15th of December 1960. So the dates here are pretty relevant. UN Resolution 1514 was a resolution with a higher power in international law than UN Resolution 1608. And let me, as a lawyer, let me break this down critically. Let's say here in the United States, or even in Germany, say if one of the regions in Germany has a law, and then there's a higher law from the German Supreme Court that contradicts the law of that region, the law of the federation supersedes that, because it's a higher law. Come to the United States, if there's a state law, let's even say if there's a city law or a law in a district that has A state law that comes out later that contradicts the state the district law, the district law becomes null and void, and the state law becomes the order. And then if there is a circuit law, because the circuits are higher than the states in the United States, they say it's a circuit law that comes from the courts that contradicts the state law is struck down and the circuit law overrules. Then the highest organ is the Supreme Court. If a Supreme Court decision comes that contradicts the circuit or the state law, then the Supreme Court decision is what rules because it's a higher power, it's a higher authoritative source in law. Now, let's transfer the same logic to what came out of a decolonization committee. The decolonization committee of the UN is a lower body than the General Assembly. So the decolonization committee has come up with UN Resolution 1608 that the Southern Cameroon is going to vote if to join French Cameroon or if to join Nigeria. This was prior to December. Then in December 1960. Then in December 1960, the UN General Assembly, a higher organ, higher than the decolonization committee, comes out with UN Resolution 1508 that says give independence to all colonial countries and territories, irrespective of the political preparedness or the economic readiness of these territories and colonies. What does that mean in international law and in the order of laws? That means UN Resolution 1514 would have right there arrested UN Resolution 1608. It would have struck down UN Resolution 1608 because it made 1608 null and void. Following the mandate of 1514, England, because we were not their territory to begin with, we were a UN trust territory, not England to deal with. Following 1514 XV, it would have halted 1608 right in its tracks, and England should have done its duty of handing over independence to the Southern Cameroon, to the government of J.N. Foncher. But what did England do? It insisted that we go vote. And I call it an illegitimate vote because a higher law in the UN security, in the UN General Assembly had already struck that down. So we were puzzled and stalled. And we were not England to deal with. Again, England was just a guardian. We're under a guardianship. We belong to the UN. And the UN never authorized. The people think that maybe the UN authorized that. Even the UN Secretary General at that time, Das Hamajok, was very angry about us and about England pushing us to join French Cameroon. You've seen which he said, the Southern Cameroon joining French Cameroon is like forcing the balloon underwater. Someday it will come out. And that Hamajok, if you read declassified, because while in law school I went into all of these files, declassified transcripts, and read CIA reports coming out of the Southern Cameroon through Lagos. And CIA transcripts captured that Hamajok informing John Poncha that if Britain is not willing to continue its trusteeship duties, Poncha should come to New York and the UN will take over the Southern Cameroon and economically become the steward to the Southern Cameroon until we're ready for independence. They blocked Poncha from going to the UN to meet that Hamajok because he had to go to the UN through England's colonial administrator in Lagos. So they blocked Poncha from being able to do that. And if you read again those declassified transcripts, Poncha wrote to England, asking England to delay the process of independence if they were not ready to give us outright independence. Some of us say we've eaten this Romo that frontier, sold us frontier beetroot. This guy wrote to the UN, wrote to the British that they should not give us independence in on the condition of association with French Cam- Cameroon. Even British parliamentarians, such as Lord Alton, spoke in the British Parliament. We have all of these transcripts decrying what Britain was doing and saying what Britain was doing was illegal and that the Southern Cameroon had no business of having its independence under the condition of joining RC. So as you can see, that balloon, which that Hamad Job talked about, that was forced underwater, has finally come out in the form of warfare between us, Ambazonia, and France, because this war is not really between us and RC. This war is really between Ambazonia and France, with France using RC as a proxy to fight us. So all the blood that they've been letting or dripping in the southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonia, France is the principal, and France is totally responsible. And in due time, France will be held in the proper international forum for the injustice that it's doing. Just like they are saying they are going to try war criminals from Russia for the atrocities that they are committing in Ukraine. If you look at what is happening in Ukraine and what is happening in Amazonia, there is absolutely no difference. So the French will also be held liable. They will be held accountable for the lives, for the over 40,000 lives, for the over 500 villages that they've burnt in the southern Cameroons. So that's the path that we've taken to where we are, and the injustice is unfolding. And without any doubt, we will attain a sovereignty because you cannot use your finger to cover the sun. Inviting chiefs to France, holding the Fumban conference.
Barrister, Barrister,
Yeah.
we are going to come to that. Really, we are really taking some of the things in piecemeal that we were really supposed to talk, because on the program lined up, this putting Ukraine and our case, the case of Amazonia, side by side, were to come to that. Even our chiefs going to what is the relationship with them. Out of
There's a lot to be
your
there's a lot to be said
yeah,
about all of those, and we'll
yeah, there's
address
a
them
lot.
when. Yeah.
The cliche that I want to get is this part that when we realized that England was the watchdog, let me put it this way, was the
Administering
administrator,
authority. Yeah.
yeah, administering of authority. And then where does France come now when you make the final statement that France is the one that is going to be held responsible that day that they will be taken to the International Court of Justice? I want you to give that thin silver line where England and France, where they came and met to plunge Southern Cameroon's Amazonia to where we are today.
A lot of that started in the decolonization committee. And contrary to what a lot of people have heard, uh, the scheming to deprive us of our independence started with both England and France trying to deprive UN Resolution 1608 with any text that could grant us independence at that time. That's why they wavered between, having and it all comes down to the fact that England was trying to fill its eastern border. So if you draw the eastern border of Nigeria, including the southern Cameroons, it's a straight line from Lake Chad down to the Atlantic. Without the southern Cameroons, it's sort of a little truncated. So England was just trying to fill the eastern border of its large colony of Nigeria and extend that colony there. And so they wanted to frustrate our quest for independence by towards accomplishing that goal. So it was just that simple. Now the French really became interested in the southern Cameroons. You see, Ahijo himself, if you read, Ahijo himself was not interested in was not that much high about us joining French Cameroon. This was France and England. Because you have to realize that Ahijo was looking at the resources of French Cameroon and wanted to focus on those resources being for French Cameroon. It is when oil was discovered in the southern Cameroons that this huge appetite by French Cameroon now went through the roof here. So yes, the principal architect of depriving us of our independence is England. But the principal prosecutor of this war is France. And that is where legality comes in. And why, if you read the French Accord de Coopération, you realize
Mm-hmm.
that the French already had French Cameroon, deprived itself of its independence before even giving them independence. If you read all the articles of the cooperation, the accord or whatever they call it, they deprive them of their independence. France has a first right of refusal for all national uh, resources here. The political and economic policies of French Cameroon were going to be controlled by the French embassy, and it's still like that to this day. And so, if France still maintains that sort of autonomy over French Cameroon, then France is the principal, and French Cameroon is the agent. And in law, the agent acts on behalf of the principal. And so whatever the agent is doing, the principal will be held accountable. And that's why we see France. France is the one lobbying for French Cameroon to take loans from the IMF, from different sources, to continue to subsidize their war effort in the southern Cameroons. I would even outrightly tell you that if a full research is done, it will unfold the fact that this war is not planned from A to D. This war is planned from the French embassy in Yaoundé. The French are the ones pursuing this war, though they are hiding behind the mask of the Cameroon army. And why are they pursuing this war? Because they want to threat the southern Cameroons and the resources of the southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonia, into Central Africa. France wants to make Central Africa its mini empire in Africa, and they need the resources of Ambazonia to be able to do that. And so that's why they are trying to thread Ambazonia into CEMAC. So France is the principal, French Cameroon is the agent, and both the agent and the principal will be equally held liable for what is happening in the southern Cameroons. I don't know if I explained that rightly.
Yeah, barrister, thank you very much. To me, it came across very clear. Federal Ambazonian, mommy and papa them, the thing wey we dey hear wey our barrister dey tell we for here na say we fit see dis war wey dey happen today. Some pipo dey go talk say we be dey for Nigeria, dem be talk say make we go join Nigeria. And while some man go dey see the war today go dey think say if we be know, we for better go join Nigeria. But the condition wey e be say make we go join Nigeria no be still be the one wey we dey before even ask we say make we even join some person sef. We no be even get to join any person because United Nations, that big meeting be don, she don talk say time don reach wey dem get to any country wey wine man im hand dey on top wey e dey control am. Time don reach make dem give the people dem their own independence, make dem take am, make dem go, make any man go manage himself, whether you get money or you no get money o, give the people, dem go start learn for the manage a small cocoa wey dem get am until dem can grow by themselves. But dem no gree. even that papa where they talk say na funcha say be say we. They talk say one barrister dey tell we say for the deep deep book dem wey dey inside place dem, e be show say e sef be waka e write for England say make dem wait, if dem no ready for give we dat independence make we stand by we own, make dem leave am make e go for dat United Nations, make e go tell dem say make dem give we time, we go arrange ourselves. But wetin wey dem do, one man wey be dey for Nigeria, e block the road so dat make e no waka go dey go report. Den as wey dem can join their friend now, France wey e bin don be dat side, e get Chad, e get Central Africa, e get Gabon, e be dey find who wey e go take am join am for e side make e big. Na im wey e can take we to e na im brother white man England dey talk Congo side for back. Na wey some person dey ask me for Facebook now say make I ask am say dem be hear say dem be sell southern Cameroons for $200 million. Na true? So we no know whether na dis talk wey white man and im brother England and France dem be go talk, dem decide for sell we, whether na the talk dat o. But barrister, I want to ask you, there was this statement that Vasilo Petit Cadeau say Frenchman dey talk say Ambazonia or southern Cameroons was a petit cadeau given to them by the Queen of England. Is there any, are these just statement being made, or is there anything hidden behind, or is there anything connecting to that?
Yeah, in my research, I have read that, and it's not 200 million. It is, I think, 20 million pounds. And
Mhm.
from what I read, I cannot vouch for this because I don't have the agreement that was entered between France and England. But in order for this for England to let go of the Southern Cameroons, what England allegedly said was, we have an interest in the Southern in the Cameroon Development Corporation (CDC), which we have invested money in it. So in order to let you have control over the Southern Cameroons, you have to reimburse us for the investments we've made in the CDC, which England put the price tag as allegedly. Again, I cannot vouch for that because I am not privy to the agreement. So it was 20 million pounds that England had. But another angle to also explain here is that for England to justify the justification that England had in the decolonization committee for making us join French Cameroon as a condition of our independence was that we're not economically sustainable. We could not run ourselves. That is the biggest BS that was ever told to justify our enslavement. Because the South, if you read the CIA transcript, the CIA report, I have all of them, and the cables. If you read those reports, you'll see that the CIA agents were sending messages to Washington that resources from the Southern Cameroons was being used to run the Northern Cameroons. So we're economically self-sufficient. The CIA also sent cables to Washington that the Bamenda Hospital was built with autonomous funds from the Southern Cameroons. But England lied that those funds came from Nigeria. So we're economically self-sufficient and could exist as our own state. Smaller states like Togo, Gabon, that were not self-sufficient, Benin, Mauritius, were given independence. And so there was absolutely no justification for England not giving us outright independence as mandated by UN Resolution 1514 XV. Again, that came out December 15th, 1960. If you doubt it, Google it and you'll find UN Resolution 1514 XV of December 12, 1960. And when I met with Senator Dick Durban, because our Cameroonians invited us to come speak on our cause. I printed all of these resolutions and I highlighted all of these respective texts. And I handed them to Senator, as I was doing the presentation, I handed them to him. He had no doubt of our rightful cause for independence. He has all of those with him. I compared the situation of, because Senator Dick Durbin, one thing that people don't know is that his parents came from Lithuania, one of the nations that Russia is sort of bearing down, and he could relate on how the southern Cameroons is being held captive, just like those satellite Soviet republics were being held captive by USSR. So when we did that presentation in Illinois to Senator Dick Durbin, Lisa, Congresswoman Lisa Sheshowski, and a lot of others, they could see clearly our right to statehood, our right to civil sovereignty, and our right to independence. And one other fact, even the United States representative to the UN at that time, Congressman Zablocki from Wisconsin, decried, was against any resolution granting us independence on the condition of joining French Cameroon. So U.S. policy was against that deal. So just to give you some complementary facts, you know, of that.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, Barrister. We still have some lines to go. At this juncture, I would just like you to throw more light because people are now wondering, fellow Amazonians, we are wondering why una dey tell we dis story now? Why you people narrating all this? Isn't it history? To me, when I listen to it, it gives me the zeal, the power to push forward because I cannot sit and watch somebody being cheated like this, somebody being manipulated. And even at the time that the person stands up to speak out, to call for justice, what is meted on the people is death. They go on masking and killing the people. They use now the French is behind it, using La République du Cameroon. La République du Cameroon has recruited its own people, even up to our own brothers who have sold their consciences. They go ahead to kill their own fellow brothers because they want to defend homeland. We are going to come to all that, but for the time being, we are still talking and giving an overview, giving a storyline from where we've been and where we are going to, and how we want to the process, why we think that we should really stay steadfast, stay resilient to our cause to restore our sovereignty. Why? What is this encouragement? Now, one thing, manipulation continues. Our chiefs are in France. Barrister, help us to let the people know that even though the chiefs or whosoever are in France, there is a process you have to take regardless of what is ongoing. So I will leave you to to outline some of the reasons why you think Amazonia should really stay the course. We've come through to ASSC. We are doing that. There are many other things we are still doing. There are things we are doing at the background. I think you should just talk to the Amazonian people to boost their morals and to stay steadfast no matter what. There are some secrets that you have that you think it is valuable to just dish out a little. So I leave it to you.
Uh, Thank you for that question. Uh, there's a wise quote that says, "People will become wise only when they've exhausted all other options." And La République du Cameroon and France from 1961, in their attempt to illegitimately and illegally gain and keep hold of the southern Cameroons, have been trying to use all types of illegitimate options. So if you look at what is happening with the chiefs being invited to France, it's not different from Ahidjo sending in forces and then at the same time appointing a Southern Cameroon's coordinator to usurp the powers of the Prime Minister of Southern Cameroon. It's not different from the gimmick of immediately after this charade of an unholy union, this charade of the Federal Republic of Cameroon, France working with Ahidjo to dissolve the political parties in Cameroon. You see, dictators are always afraid of freedom. They are always afraid of free expression. So between 1961 and 1966, if you read the history of Cameroon properly, they put in almost to dissolve the parties. Uh, MUNAS, CUC, KNDP, all of those parties. You might want to ask, how did they end up? By 1966, Ahijo had successfully amalgamated all of those parties. That is just people doing things unwisely to justify a wrong. To 1968, when then they had to send Estimuna to come overthrow the government of Honorable Ngom Bobejua and make Estimuna, an illegitimate premier over the southern Cameroons. Because you have to remember that going back to 1954, we had a vote where Endeli won and became the prime minister. 1959, Foncha won. After that, after Foncha went and become the vice president of French Cameroon, Joa, through an election, became the leader. So how did Muna come to be the prime minister of Southern Cameroon? Again, these are just the options of exhausting what is wrong instead of doing the right thing. By sending Muna in 1968 to come overthrow Honorable Ngom Bobejua. And that was not enough. What did they do in 1972? A fake referendum to change the country from the Federal Republic of Cameroon to the United Republic of Cameroon. See, when you start by doing the wrong thing, and I'm going to tell you, when the first button on your shirt is wrongly buttoned, and you keep continuing to button the other buttons, everything is going to be crooked until you undo it and come button that first button right. And that first button is giving us what we deserve through UN Resolution 1514. So 1972 was just an additional step of buttoning that shirt wrong by having a referendum where the choice was between we and yes, to change from the fake Federal Republic of Cameroon to a sham United Republic of Cameroon. And that continued.
Cameroon.
Again, Muna was the Speaker of Parliament and purportedly second in command. When Ahijo wanted to do to hand over, what did he do? What did the French scheme with him to do? Change things so that the prime minister should be now second in command, so that when he resigns, he will not be the Speaker of Parliament, it will be the prime minister that takes over. Again, more buttons being wrongly buttoned. And when Biya comes to power, that is not enough. Again, the hoofbeats of the owner's right are always chasing the thief, and the thief continues to make missteps. 1984, when Biya comes over, what does he do? He changes the name again from United Republic of Cameroon to Republic of Cameroon. Again, continuing to wrongly button that shirt. Down to the SDF coming, the SDF contesting Frundi, winning outrightly, and they have to again continuously wrongly buttoning that shirt by depriving Frundi of the victory. Down to 1996, when they purportedly have a constitution, but they cannot implement it. Because when you hold somebody down, you cannot be up. So the illegitimacy builds on other illegitimacies. And so again, I'll go back to that quote. When your first button is wrongly buttoned, everything is going to be wrongly buttoned and you have to undo it. And we've heard about the Grand National Dialogue, another sham. And now we heard of the Canadian CDN conference. All of these sham moves been right from 1960. A history of sham moves. So what is this whole move of taking our chiefs to France? It's a continuation of a legacy of these sham moves. It is continuing to wrongly button that shirt.
That shirt.
And once again, the first button is wrongly buttoned, every other button is going to be wrongly buttoned until you correct it on you, until you undo them. Our chiefs do not have the right in law to deal away the Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonia. The right of the Southern Cameroons again come from UN Resolution 1514. People forget about 1608. 1514, we do not really pay attention to 1514 because we do not give it the full force of law. The right of the Southern Cameroons comes from UN 1514 that says, give independence to all countries that are under colonial rule and under terror and all the te- te-
Territories
territory.
and everything.
That ruling, that resolution has been affirmed by a UN organ, the highest UN court that has examined that, has affirmed the right of Ambazonia, the right of the people of the Southern Cameroons to self-determination. And self-determination is not just a trivial context or a trivial thought in international law. Self-determination means you are a people recognized in international law with the right to self-determination. That was the case of Namibia. South Africa tried to annex Namibia just like French Cameroon, with the help of France, tried to annex the southern Cameroon. And South Africa tried to keep uh, Namibia, arguing that Namibia was part of its territory. But just like we've seen Sako rise, we saw Sam Nujoma rise. And under SWAPO, they fought for the liberation of Namibia. And today, Namibia is an independent country. At the example of Eritrea, at the example of East Timor, at the examples of those satellite states within Yugoslavia, such as Bosnia, Montenegro, Croatia, who were amalgamated by force to form Yugoslavia. And it all ended up in Yugoslavia. And so, taking the chiefs to France will not in any way deprive the Southern Cameroons of its right. The 1972 referendum did not do it. The 1968 overthrow of DRAP did not do it. The 1984 change of the name from United Republic of Cameroon to Republic of Cameroon did not do it. Dropping the 2 stars on the flag and staying with one flag did not do it. They can come gather all the chiefs and all the quarter heads and all the traditional rulers that they can find, wearing all types of traditional attire. That will not deprive the right of Ambazonia to statehood, because it has been authoritatively stated in law. The 2009 ruling in Banjul of Kevin Gume and Ndanga v. La République du Cameroun. If you read that ruling, and I've read it as a lawyer in its entirety, Article 20 of that ruling affirms the right of the people of the Southern Cameroons to self-determination. That is a force of law under an international organ of law. Taking a few chiefs and whining and dining them and maybe giving them bags of money will not breach that force in international law.
Amazonian people, them when I don't hear. Even if you hear say they don't can take your quarter head, they take your family head, they take your village head, they take your chief, they take mayor, take whether not or whosoever where they can take and go. So long as they not take your LGH here, they not take your county coordinator, they not take your president, Sako, they not take some people, they not take their members of House of Representatives. No say they never take no man. Barrister thought say, well, I like that analogy. When you start button your shed, you wake up for morning time, even when you dey hurry, as you start button your shed, you take buttonhole number two, buttonhole number one. Know say before you wan reach for office, you must don sidon maybe inside your motor, unbutton that shirt again fine before you go enter your office. So we dey talk for here say make we no mind, dem fit take all man go France, dem must button and go back for article 1514 wey United Nations bin talk say make dem give everybody e own boundary, because La Republique bin get im boundary wey get im independence dey for 1960. Ambazonia today, na e bin be dat time Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonia, ma borrow for barrister. E own boundary be dey, so if dem like dem take all quarter head dem, all chiefdom. Shame to una dat chiefdom. I no know wetin wey una dey go do. In those days, una be say our chiefdom no go school, dem no get sense. But many of una wey I see una wey una dey go down escalators, na young pipu wey I believe say dem don read small thing, na only langa, na only long throat, na only wickedness, um the word dem plenty, but make we no worry. Barrister don talk am for here, and many other pipu, many other Ambazonian dem dey know. So when dem talk for Facebook here say if dem like dey carry all man go, so far as dem never talk independence, Ambazonia must be free. So barrister, I'm coming back to you. Now you made a statement that the Ukrainian war, that the same punishment that will be meted to those who are persecuting uh, um, those that are following up with the Ukrainian war is going to be the same thing that will be done to those that are that are persecuting Amazonians. How do you mean?
First of all, if you compare the Ukrainian situation, you will see that Ukraine has an independent status in international law. It's a separate country from Russia. It's a it's a separate legal constitution. In this case, it happens to be a member of the UN as well. Same thing with Ambazonia. Ambazonia has an independent status in international law. If Ambazonia did not have an independent status in international law, there would be no Swiss talks between two parties. If Ambazonia did not have an independent status in international law, the United States Senate would not have passed a resolution 684, stating that the two sides need to mediate. So these two sides are two separate entities in international law, and it is not a civil matter. Number two, France has tried to bribe Ambazonia to vacate its status or to vacate its independent status in international law. Or we are going to build them the ring road, we're going to do this. When Ukraine, as an independent nation, wanted to join the European nation, Russia also tried to bribe Ukraine. We're going to give you guys $15 billion of aid so that you people should not go join NATO. So they've tried to bribe Ukraine just like France has been trying to bribe Ambazonia. And France has done it successfully by bribing some of our elites to sell their birthright by giving them positions in Yaoundé, which has amounted to nothing. Another comparison between our situation, between Ambazonia and Ukraine. There is this quote that says, you can fool some of the people some of the time. You can fool all the people some of the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. Now, you as an imperial power, just like France is on Ambazonia, just like Russia is on Ukraine, will try to use all types of gimmicks, including putting puppet leaders to serve your interests. If you look at the previous puppet leaders that Russia put in Ukraine to try to deprive the Ukrainians of their independence, and if you look at the fact that even petty French Cameroon because they have not had an independent leader since independence. Ahidjo was a tool of the French. The French took somebody with a small party. Ahidjo had his small Union Cameroonese, armed him, helped to kill the Bamilikis and the Doualas under the UPC, and made
APC.
Ahidjo their puppet to serve their interests. And they manipulated the diaper-wearing octogenarian in a Tudipobia to be there as their estate manager to serve their interests. Same thing like was done in Ukraine. But then we had somebody called Volodymyr Zelensky, who, when Russia was bearing down, even Joseph Biden called Zelensky and said, let's give you a ride out of Kiev. We want to put you out of harm's way. And what did Zelensky say? I do not need a lift. I need arms. We have to stand and fight for our independence because enough of this BS. And today the Ukrainian people are paying a price for their freedom. Just like when they came after our people in 2016 and 2017, when La Republique started shooting and mowing down our people with helicopter guns, our leaders rose up. Sako rose up when he took over and said, we are going to use the hammer alternative. We are going to fight bloodshed for bloodshed. We are going to get the arms that we need and defend our independence. And La République French Cameroon thought this was going to be a cakewalk in the park. We're going to overrun Ambazonia in 3 weeks. That's what their generals told the diaper-wearing octogenarian. But guess what? It's been 5 years, and the battle is raging on. Just like Russia thought they were going to be greeted with flowers into Ukraine. But I have a lot of sympathy for those 18,000 Russians that have died for a purposeful fight. Just like French Cameroon troops and our valiant fighters, our mothers have been raped, our sisters have been raped, our villages have been burnt just to justify and cover an injustice. And coming back to your question, yes, those who are prosecuting this war, the French are going to be held responsible because they are aiding French Cameroon to commit homicide in Ambazonia. See, there's a precedent to this case. When the British fought the Mau Mau in Kenya, when they left landmines. And these landmines injured a lot of people. And anybody listening can do their research. And the Kenyans sued the British in international court. And they prevailed. And there was a settlement. And so, the actions of France in Ambazonia are not going to go scot-free. The French will be held responsible for all the mayhem, for all the bloodshed, for all the burning of the villages in Ambazonia. Because they are the perpetrators and the executors of this war, even if they are executing it through their proxies, the French Cameroon army. So yes, they will be held responsible.
Thank you very much, Barrister. Mommy and Papa them, the thing wey we dey hear for here, for the horizon, the voice of the Amazonian woman on ABC TV. Some person go ask and say, why una dey so tell we this story? We get to hear this story because we too with the law speaking there every day. But we dey still talk say freedom not free. Even this white man country where we dey there today so, people dey be die, that way they be dey fight am for fix am. Some people dey talk say Ghana don fine, Sierra Leone don fine, Rwanda don fine. All we will know how we people dey be die. Some people already know say if blood no flow, gain no go come. We not happy say our pikin dey die and we are not proud of it. But we just be full of ourselves to say thank God that we have come to the point of knowledge. We dey thank God so we don reach for that place where they say when the Son of Man sets you free, you are free indeed. because all that lie life dem wey people don dey pre ten d dey live under slavery, under bitterness. You send pikin for school, e go come back, e come meet you inside house, get pikin no work, e go born, e come back, boy pikin go bring woman come meet up you inside house. Dat one no be life. You siddon for your own subdivision, principal for school na Frenchman, DO na Frenchman, commissioner of police na Frenchman, commandant for
Well,
gendarmerie na Frenchman. Every other person wey e dey around na Frenchman. You ask am say, dis my own pikin wey I dey born am so, who side im own position go be for our own land? There comes a time in life when you say, when you come for realize am say there is need for me for really take wetin wey e belong to me, because the slavery wey Ambazonians dey already dey inside is more than tongue can tell. So mama and papa dem we dey cry our pikin dem everyday, but una go see am say no be only for we. If una don dey watch news, una go see am say even white man dem, even Ukraine dem someone dey talk say we no go live, we go die for here, we go fight for our country, Russia no fit come take our country. And that is the same thing that Ambazonians dem don decide for say we are a never again generation, we go stand up and fight for the right of our country, and na wetin dat way we dey do. Barrister, we still get something wey we get to talk. Of late, you will be we don come a long way. To fast forward, we don come away from ASSC 1, we don come again, you will be the constitutional committee chair for ASSC 2. You all of we know the problems or the situations, the confusion wey will lead to the point where we talk say they get to review that constitution. I believe say even up to now, some people they never still understand the reason why AASSC be really get to take place, and why there was a separate committee like the constitutional committee, and when you be chair that committee, and wetin wey you think say how this ASSC 2 and most of the resolutions the way they take am for the how e go help for encourage the Ambazonian people to stay the course.
yeah, thanks a lot, Mara, for that question. And by the way, it was my honor and my privilege to be of service to the people of Ambazonia by chairing that constitutional committee towards ASSC 2. I also want to thank all of those who participated in the constitutional committee to debate and to look at things from critical angles towards coming up with the resolutions. They did a great and mighty job. Uh, Sometimes when you create a document, it's a document that intends to serve a good purpose. But there might be some deficiencies in that document that you might not realize them at the time of creating that document. We've seen even here in the United States constitutions and other constitutions around the world where they continue to be amendments. So if you create a document, in this case a constitution, and it has some deficiencies, then the rightful authority has to take the requisite steps towards making amendments to that document. So so there was confusion and people inclining towards anarchy, and not just inclining, but some people manifestly, intentionally sowing seeds of anarchy within the interim government in a very lawless manner. And we also saw instances where allegations were being made against the president of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Allegations that were given the force of what was right when those allegations had not been fully presented, when those allegations had not been cross examined, where those allegations had not been substantiated with facts. And we saw a case also where the defunct Restoration Council uh, was being used as an instrument of division, as an instrument to usurp the interim government, as an instrument to put us back in our struggle, as an instrument to present a gift to French Cameroon by sowing seeds of division in the struggle. We saw a case where the defunct Restoration Council, knowing that there had to be a legitimate quorum in the Restoration Council to make certain decisions, sought to make those decisions illegitimately without the proper quorum. We also saw a situation where decisions or changes that have the force of constitutional changes were sought to be made by the Restoration Council, which did not have the power to make constitutional changes either to the constitution or to the functioning of the government. So, as part of the Constitutional Committee and as the chair of the Constitutional Committee, we use these experiences as a purview to what was going on to sort of inject or suggest changes that would better handle uh, accusations and certain nuances within the interim government. For example, should people have allegations not just against the president, but against certain members of the government, such as the Judiciary Committee, such as the Ethics Committee? Uh, there, 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 there would be a better mechanism, a better pivot, a better constitutional mechanism to handling some of these accusations or differences. Uh, we established the rightful quorum for being able to impeach the president. We established the rightful quorum for being able to impeach not just the president, but members of the Judiciary Committee, which again, we sought to make the Judiciary Committee independent of the executive wing. And we sought also to make the Ethics Committee independent of the executive wing. And in articles which we suggested, members of the Judiciary Committee can be appointed by the president, but they serve for life. They do not serve as at the pleasure of the president of the Federal Republic of Cameroon. But they, should they commit wrong, which rises, which do rise to cases of high crimes, treasonable offenses, or misdemeanors, can be impeached by the interim House of Representatives, which is our house, or we call it the Jua Honorable Ngombobe Jua House of Representatives, which is the house that now replaces the defunct Restoration Council. So we did a lot of things. We had a lot of meetings, a lot of debates for weeks and months leading up to ASSC2, and we came up with these resolutions that were voted unanimously. Some of the resolutions were rejected. So it was really a democratic exercise of power, a democratic exercise of power, a democratic exercise of leadership to set up structures that would appropriately serve the purpose of prosecuting to completion and to success the attainment of our sovereignty, the attainment of our statehood, and the attainment of our autonomy. So,
Thank you. Thank you very much, Barrister. So, in that light, if I get you well, are you saying that Amazonians should be at rest? That the constitution, the interim constitution, has been revised or that amended in a way that will lead the people to Boya and What will be next? Because this is just the interim constitution.
Correct. Again, a constitution is a document that is being perfected, and ASC 2 took place in Washington, but there's going to be ASC 3 that will take place in some other venue still to be determined. This Constituent Assembly, which is the supreme power of the people right now, is going to keep taking place every year. And so there might be other changes that people will suggest towards next year's ASSC 3. And if those changes are suggested and the Constituent Assembly approves of them, they will become law. So it's just to perfect that mechanism of leadership. So yes, Ambazonian people should be rest assured that of all the movements and groups that are speaking for our independence, the interim government is the most democratic, is the most transparent, is the most soliciting of the will of the Ambazonian people towards governing and prosecuting our struggle. So if you have any support to give, this is the organization, this is the government for you to support. And if you're not participating yet in defining both the structure and our struggle or our movement, we call on you to come and be part of us, to come and be part of this heroic exercise towards emancipating our people. And as you can see from the reactions on the ground, as you can see from the continuation of the defense of our people, and as you can see from the continuation of our iron men who are now being given iron tools by this government, La Republique cannot just walk in willy-nilly into every village and kill people and be able to walk out on challenge. The agents of France cannot go in there and kill Ambazonians without also paying a price. And just like Russia is sadly paying a price in Ukraine, France will discover that the will of the Ambazonian people is pretty tough. France will discover that the spine of the Ambazonian people is pretty tough. France and French Cameroon will discover that God Almighty has trained us in the diaspora for over 60 years, and it is no accident that we did not rise up in 1972. It's no accident that we did not rise up in 1984. It's no accident that we did not rise up in 1992 when Frundi was cheated of his victory. God was preserving Ambazonia and training its foot soldiers and planting us in diplomatic capitals in the world and feeding us with the requisite knowledge so that at the appointed time, which is now, we will rise up and we will fight with the training that we have received in the diaspora for over 60 years. So whether you take chiefs to France or you gather quarterheads to wherever, God has trained the Ambazonian people not to settle for crumbs. Crumbs is not what we are advocating for. Crumbs are not what we are looking for. What we are fighting for is a rightful birthright, which is statehood, confirmed by the Banjul Court, confirmed by the African Constitutive Act 4B, confirmed by UN Resolution 1514, confirmed even by UN Resolution 1608, confirmed by US Senate Resolution 684. We are not looking for crumbs, and we are not interested in crumbs. And you can take the chiefs to go have their free vacations in France, but the will of Ambazonia lies with the sovereign. And what is the sovereign? Who has the sovereign will of Ambazonia? The people. Because it is the people who voted in a plebiscite that France or French Cameroon is claiming as the document of their association. But the same dictator said, we have to have a conference to iron it out. And whatever treaty we have has to go back to a constituent assembly of Ambazonia, because that is the sovereign. Because the people of Ambazonia that elect that sovereign body to decide on behalf of the people. Or we can have a referendum on what the sovereign, which is the people of Ambazonia, want to do. And even if you listen to Zelensky talk about those treaties where those Ukrainian mediators are meeting with the Russians, Zelensky always says whatever they decide has to be brought back to the people of Ukraine for a referendum, because the people are the sovereign. Just like the people are the sovereign in Ukraine, the people, the Ambazonians, Aboriginal Southern Cameroonians, are the sovereign. And it is the people of Ambazonia that will decide our fate. And they have already made that decision with their pockets. They've already made that decision with the spilling of their blood, that independence is a final destination and no compromise on the way. You're on mute.
Thank you, Barrister. Thank you very much. We are talking like this. So many questions are just spinning in my head. Which one has priority, or what should I? I was just to let you talk today a little bit about being the county coordinator for Momo. There are lots of things going on in Momo, but I talked yesterday with one of our brothers and sisters there. I really wish a Momo setting to come here so that we try to dissect some of the things that are going on. I would just want to say, um, as the county coordinator for Momo, there are lots of things going on. I just wanted to just throw a little bit, but I would still love to invite you here one time again with some Momo nights, so we can together um, talk on some of the things. What is really going on in Momo when it comes to the infighting is the word that is in the Amazonian liberation, the sovereignty quest, divisions here and there. We've just lost one of our major one that they've been hunting him all the years, all these past months, and well, they have had their devilish demonic bid over him. I wish they feed on him very well. And let me see how the Amazonian struggle, the quest is going to come to an end, because that one has fallen. You are talking here, giving the Amazonian people courage to stay steadfast, just as every other nation stood fast and they got their independence, restored their sovereignty. So, like a coordinator of Momo, what do you think? How I don't even know how to put it, but what is really going on in Momo?
What is going on in Momo and in Ambazonia, not just in Momo, is that it's a very natural process in the face of any revolution. You have patriots and you have traitors. You have people who can discern the vision of the revolution and prosecute it, and you have people who vie for personal interest, and they are always going to be seeking their personal interest, even if at sometimes they disguise themselves as patriots. When you come to the United States Revolutionary War from the 1760s to the 1770s, you'll hear of a character called Benedict Arnold, who was a Union general that defected, who was a general of the United States that defected to fight with the British, and he ended up in exile in Canada. If you go to the case of South Africa, you'll hear of somebody called Mongasuthu Buthelezi, who in the 80s, when the ANC was fighting to liberate South Africa from apartheid, Buthelezi was conniving with the apartheid regime to kill blacks in the township and destabilize the struggle for total emancipation of blacks in South Africa. So these cases of of traitors, deviants, and compromisers is not new. And so, what I would rather focus on is the vision of the people of our county, as well as the entire Ambazonia. And as you can see, when President Sako calls a town hall meeting, we have anywhere from 300 to 500 pa- participants. As you can see, during the ASSC2 conference in Washington, we had over 1,000 people log in from around the world. And as you can see, Ambazonians are voting for the interim government with their pockets in how much they are donating towards sustaining our restoration fighters and liberating Ambazonia. So, yes, Marashall, there will always be people who are vying for personal interest. There will always be people, as in Momo, who would be elected for office and removed from office and refuse to leave because the vision of emancipating Ambazonia was never what was ingrained in their head. Seeking personal advantages or maybe positioning themselves for power was their vision. For true patriots, they don't need to be in government or be in power to do what it takes to prosecute this struggle. So, the phase we are going through is the same phase that a lot of revolutions go through. But we shall prevail because the future is clear and the future is bright. Even in France, when France had its own revolution from the 1760s to 1799 until Napoleon Bonaparte came to power, they went through a whole, I mean, the French went through a period of anarchy for about 40 years. They went through periods of bloodshed, but eventually Napoleon Bonaparte emerged. So, this phase that we are going through is not unbeknownst to history, but we shall prevail because the significant core of the Amazonian people, even those who are serving in the cabinet in Yaoundé, even those who are working in various positions within that enslaving French Cameroon government, know that we are under annexation. And let me piggyback again to Fumban. The French Gaullist administrator who oversaw the French enslavement of Ambazonia. If you read his book on page 135, the title of that book is Le Blanc Sang Vent. On page 135, talking about Ambazonia, Mr. Mesmer says, sauf en apparence, une annexation. Forget for, Forgive my French if it's not appropriate, but it translates into English that, but for it,
Yes.
but for its
Yeah.
appearance,
Yes.
Fumban was an annexation of Ambazonia. That is that balloon that is under the water that has come out. So these little trivialities and disagreements and people seeking for personal interest will not deviate the interim government and the people of Ambazonia from pursuing our ultimate goal, which is total sovereignty.
Hmm. Wow. This is deep. It is really, really deep. Really, because by the time we equally say this is a God ordained revolution, it's a God ordained struggle. Really, if you've been from the start and where we are today, you ask yourself, where is even Amazonia to begin with? You'll be asking yourself, who are those there bold enough to stand up to brace the almighty La République du Cameroon, to brace the almighty France, to brace the almighty people? God is at the helm of this. Even today, we are hearing that our one and able general FM is Isubu. I'm just reading on the comments now that the enemy also has succeeded in getting him, just like many other of his predecessors. They succeeded in getting them down, but has the quest for sovereignty ended? No, it is in the spirit. This war is a spiritual war. It is in the spirit. Because I used to wonder, these young men, young boys, who will be, they will bury their friends, bury their own. They pick up their sticks. They don't, they face the war, they brace it. What is in their head? Barrister, as you said, is just the maturity, the level of emancipation someone needs to get to before you can graduate from being a traitor to a patriot. There is a big dichotomy between the two. The fact that you are hanging an Amazonian flag in your home, the fact that you are speaking Amazonia and calling that name Amazonia doesn't make you a patriot. Look at yourself very well and tell yourself, am I a patriot or a traitor? Hmm. Barrister, thank you, because you also said it is not only in Momo, it is Ambazonia worldwide. It is Ambazonia as a whole in all of our 13 counties. If you say I'm fighting for Ambazonia, are you really fighting for sovereignty, or you are fighting for an Ambazonia to sell it again to French Cameroon? Are you fighting for an Amazonia to hand it again to France to continually enslaving your people, even at the detriment of posterity? It is a God-ordained revolution, because since from the Article 1608, Article 1514, Article, Barrister has named them all, from Fumban, the Sham, 1972, the plebiscite, the referendum, and everything to the Nyama Nyama that we have, even the quarterheads in France now. Even in 2017, Paul Biya himself said that we have been trying since over these 60 years to annex them into the French system, but it is not working. How can
Right.
somebody blatantly deny you, but you are still hanging on to the person? Please, Barrister, I would just like you also to just like encourage our brave fighters, because it is heartbreaking for us all to hear that they have pursued one of us until they have gotten one of us. I don't know whether the enemy will be jubilating or what will be going through their minds. But the many that are still standing up, or any one of us, even the president who might, even you, I know I saw your face when you just, how you felt when I mentioned it. Maybe you read it too, but when somebody to echo it again to you, it comes across. My heart is heartbroken. My heart is heavy. What will you tell our people who are listening, or the ones that are still on the field? What will you tell them?
Marashall, I hadn't heard about it, about the death of Field Marshal Insobu, uh, but he was a brave fighter. And Ambazonians across our land are brave fighters. And some of us always knew this. We knew that France sent wooden men with iron tools to kill iron men who had no tools. When they came in 2016 and they started killing our people, we did not have even cutlasses to fight back. And gradually our people rose with cutlasses and then Dane guns. So our people now have AK-47s and machine guns and all other types of sophisticated weapons. When we got to 2017, specifically around April, May, I knew then that there was a period, that was a period or a transition of no return. And I'll tell you why. See, once you're educated, you're not going back to darkness. Education is light. And so if French Cameroon and La République think that by pursuing the leaders of the fighters on the ground and killing them will result to us kowtowing and compromising, you got something else coming. You got totally mistaken about the people of Ambazonia. In 2017, when we did not have one bullet, not to talk of one gun to fight back, and the people rose up with sticks and plans to fight. After 5 years, we now have sophisticated weapons. And to France and to French Cameroon, there is absolutely no way you can disarm our people of the knowledge, nor our people of the weapons that they have. You see, Russia did not realize that the Ukrainians had established democracy. They had learned freedom. Then they inclined towards a European way of life that brought the light of secular democracy against the darkness of dictatorship. So when Russian tanks went in there, they thought they were going to run into an old Ukraine just like they ran into Georgia. But once people have been educated and they know what freedom is, and they know what their rights to sovereignty are, they will fight to the last man to defend that freedom. And that is what is happening in Ambazonia. So make no mistake that you can solve this problem by killing Ambazonian fighters. Ambazonians are waiting for French Cameroon on the Swiss talks so that French Cameroon can demonstrate where they get their title to Ambazonia. See, French Cameroon is not learning. England laid claim to Ireland for over 300 years. And the Irish fought and they gained their sovereignty. Now, if England could not prevail in Ireland, what pig-headedness of those Manjunga drinking drunkards in Yaoundé to think that they will prevail in Ambazonia. And so I salute General Field Marshal Insobu for his bravery. And I salute all of those fighters who have risen to defend freedom, to defend what is right, to defend our sovereignty. But France and French Cameroon should make no mistake. Ambazonia shall never belong to French Cameroon or to France. And Ambazonians have risen to fight to the last man standing. And they killed General Ivo. And they killed a lot of other brave fighters. But that has not dented the will of our people. And so French Cameroon should heed to US Senate Resolution 684 and to the mandates of the Swiss talks and come to the negotiation table. Because irrespective of how many people you kill, irrespective of how many women you rape in Ambazonia, irrespective of how many babies you murder, irrespective of how many villages you burn, there shall be no Fumbantu. Our rights will not be deprived on any Fumbantu. No amount of chiefs or quarterheads are going to come into any assembly to give you an audience or a forum for a Fumbantu. So, La République should withdraw from Ambazonia and come to the negotiation table so that we can discuss the modalities of separation. Again, I salute Field Marshal Insobu and all the other brave fighters defending Ambazonia. And a victorious Ambazonia will document all of these brave fighters who have been taken from us. And we shall take care of their families, just like the United States took care of its veterans through a Marshall Fund to help soldiers returning from war. We should have a fund in Ambazonia to take care of the families, the kids of all of these fighters who have given their lives for the cause of our freedom. Thank you, Mai. You're on mute again.
Thank you very much, Barrister. Thank you. I'm just reading some Facebook comments where our brothers and sisters are so encouraged that they are all saying the blood of our valiant FM Isubu is going to pave the way. It's going to pave the way. I'm so heartbroken and so heavy that even my voice is tending to betray me, but that is what it is. Because I just pity those people who think that killing the body is killing the spirit. It's because they themselves they haven't understood the power in the spirit. It's something you cannot catch. It's something that is invincible. It's something that is innate. It's something that generations to come, as you rightly said, 300 years the Irish fought. Amazonians will keep fighting. You can kill, kill, killing. Killing will not, has never solved any problem. It only intensifies. And for you, us Amazonians who have taken their time to be sellouts, to be creating division, to be creating this senseless killing, promoting this senseless war, supporting an enemy. It will also go to the Bui people because I read here somebody said it's because maybe the Bui people have not yet come to the knowledge that only their own sons will kill their own sons. When I say their sons, when we say I come from this village, I come from this village, it's village line. But all of us Amazonians should come to the knowledge that it is not right for you to sell me out into slavery. There's no moral justification whatsoever for anyone to choose the path of being a traitor at this point in time. We have come, knowledge has taught us throughout history. That is why it is so uninteresting to hear that you are a Botolese in Amazonia. It is so shameful, Barrister. Really, when I see some of the things, I know of people who are boldly calling the name of Amazonia, but deep in their hearts, they know that they are calling Amazonia to return Amazonia to their vomit. It is so appalling. It is sad. Notwithstanding, Amazonians, I will equally add my voice to say there is nothing like standing for the truth, fighting for the truth, and living in truth, which is what the interim government is doing. Whether you like Dr. Sako, whether you like Barrister Gana, whether you don't like anybody, but just follow some people because they are doing what is right. Barrister, our time is really, really, really spent. I really thank the technical crew for really giving us time to to extend this to this magnitude. Um, I will just leave you to say a final word, sentence, two or three, so we could round up, reiterate some of the things we've already said. I see some people saying, "Oh, I wish I was here before." So maybe you can just water down a little bit.
Well, thanks again for inviting me. I'm very honored. Uh, Let me end by also saluting our brave brothers and sisters who are being held unjustified in jails, in concentration camps across French Cameroon, and even within some prisons in Ambazonia. I want to extend a word and a hand of courage to them that as somebody from Kondongisan during ASSC2, courage brother, courage sister, do not stumble. Though thy path be dark as night, there's a star to guide the humble. Trust in God and do the right. Ambazonia trust in God Almighty. And Ambazonia has sown that seed of faith that is going to grant us our independence. We have sown that seed of faith that was sown by Abraham, who took his son to slaughter as a sacrifice. But it is our valiant restoration fighters that have offered themselves to fight for the restoration of our statehood. Just like Mandela fought in South Africa and said, the Freedom Charter is an ideal I wish to live for, and if need be, it's an ideal that I'm ready to die for. We Ambazonians know what is rightfully ours. We Ambazonians know the authoritative sources of international law: UN Resolution 1514, UN Resolution 1608, the African Constitutive Act 4B, the Banjul 2009 ruling, and a lot of other instruments that affirm our right to statehood and sovereignty, which is sacrosanct. We Ambazonians know that it is death upon ourselves to surrender to France or to French Cameroon. We Ambazonians, whether in the diaspora or in the home front, will continue to make those sacrifices, those financial sacrifices, to make sure that our restoration forces that have risen to defend our land have all what it takes to fight. As an LGA chairman, as a county chairman, I can tell you that the fighting spirit on the ground to defend Ambazonia is very high. No Ambazonian has gone into French Cameroon to attack their country. We are defending our nation from foreign invaders. History will absorb our efforts, and history will document the litany, the journey of these heroic efforts towards freedom. For in Ambazonia, in Boya, we shall one day, and sooner or later, as French Cameroon will find out, we shall sing our anthem. Hail, hail, hail this true land of glory. Thanks to you all for listening. Be steadfast. Keep the contributions towards sustaining our forces on the ground. If one of us falls, the rest of us continue marching towards that heroic end. Ambazonia was free. Ambazonia is mentally free. And Ambazonia shall be liberated from the bloody hands of France and its proxy, French Cameroon. Thank you very much, and thanks to all in the audience.
Thank you very much, Barrister. Excellent show. I get all the comments I read, and people are really happy with the education, the awareness, sensitization is what we really need because, and this encouragement, because most time people are downtrodden because one thing happens and we want to just want to give up. But then at the same time, if we listen to people who have gone across, who've braced it. You started facing it as a child at 13. You were locked up. You were carried away. I've listened to that to your story, and then again in Yaoundé with the strikes, the GCE, the education, and all those things. And then the study lines you've taken only to stand up to be able to justify to educate your people. It is something that all of us do not have. But this is the way God has blessed us. That I give you this gift, I give your brother the other gift, so that at one point we should meet at the junction. You are coming with this knowledge to educate the people. How many times La Republican and their big brother France has tried to squeeze this small Amazonia, but it hasn't succeeded. Right, the days from the UN, they have manipulated. It's still not working. That is every reason that every Amazonian should stand up. Nobody should give up because if you are giving up, somebody isn't giving up. Some are still picking their guns. Some are getting ready to join the queue because FM Isgo has been sent forth. Many are getting 10 of them, 15, 20 of them are going to get up. In like manner, that strike, that unpatriotic demonic action that took place in the defunct Restoration Council pushed so many people to the understanding that that encouraging number that came during ASSC2 was the power that led people to know that Amazonians, we are coming in shifts. We are going in shift. We are going somewhere. Nobody is giving up. I really appreciate you today, Barrister, for the knowledge you've really shared and the enlightenment that you've thrown onto the little ones that some of us had, and to those that or equally have a line of story. It is your place to come forth and tell the Amazonian people, encourage the Amazonian people with your role, with the portion, with your knowledge, your wisdom. Even as the year will be opening very soon for contributions, we are calling the people God has blessed the Amazonians financially to start looking forward to support this year's move, how we are going to build it, the lava storm, how we are going to build it, how we are going to push through and make the sound. You know, we have to move from crisis to conflict. We have to reach that level. You know, if you are the words are failing me. If you are looking to achieve something, you know, if you are wanting to attain something, you have to keep pushing. You have to keep pushing. Push until you crash the ceiling and you are up there and you get it. This is where we are calling every Amazonian to come on board. Be a patriot. Don't be a traitor. Be a patriot. Don't be an investor. Because many people are waiting for the day they will sound the whistle and then they start running to come and say, oh, yes, I want to be part of the meeting. That one, you are not being a patron. You are being. Somebody told me, Barrister, let me make you to laugh a little bit. That those of you that are standing in front, that some people are waiting to hear that the Swiss talk has started, that some of you may not even have a space in the meeting that will be called by President Sako. If you log in late, they will tell you the meeting is full, the meeting room is full, you will not enter. Because many people must have heard and come in before you. So those are the people we call investors, because they are now coming because some patriots stood and shed their blood. We are calling on everybody to come and let's give sticks, give granuts, give pumpkins, give corn to the people who need to plant, and so that there should be harvest. This is the time to prepare the harvest season. Please. And another good message for us is tomorrow, the interim House of Rep. I believe the flyer is already out there inviting people to this open Zoom tomorrow to come and witness the first session of the interim house. I hope I'm not saying the wrong thing, but this is what I understood from the flyer that the speaker, the House Speaker, Dr. Winnie Lobati, is inviting. And yeah, let me end it there. Let me not talk too much. Maybe I'm not giving it right, but tomorrow I also got it that because of the town hall that was supposed to be on Thursday, it has been merged on Saturday tomorrow. So Ambazonians are welcome. Barrister, I hope I'm not saying the wrong thing.
You're right in order.
Okay, thank you. And then yeah, that said, um if I didn't forget, yeah. Yeah, that is what we had for you today. We just want to appreciate. Barrister, before I go, that was the last thing. Congratulations again. I will not say it here, but accept my congratulations. Next time when you come, I will now let you add to your bio. So yes,
Thank you.
you
Thank you.
merited. Yeah,
Like
let me just
like
leave
I
it at
said,
that. Congratulations.
li-
Yeah.
like I said, the most important title is servant of Ambazonia.
Is servant of Amazonia. In
Correct.
servanthood, you know many doors are open so that we continue serving. So that is part
Correct.
of the stewardship. I
Correct.
appreciate you, Barrister, very much for making out time. I know you are a very busy daddy, busy husband, busy servant, in and out. And this is your stewardship that you come here to talk with us. I so much appreciate it. And I will call on many of our brothers, even though we say the voice of the Amazonian woman on ABC TV, our you are our sons, you are our brothers, you are our husbands. So when you talk, it is us talking, it's the women talking. So we believe that my sister has sent you to come and talk on her behalf. My daughter has sent you to come and talk on her behalf. So it is the voice of the Amazonian woman talking. So we
Correct.
appreciate every daddy who is ready to come on ABC through the horizon. I will be calling each and every one of you, inviting you, making out time so you come and teach us, come and talk with us, encourage us, most especially. We need it every day. So I just want to say a very big thank you to the technical crew. I want to thank you for the how the technical crew call it again. This new page they have given me, I'm sure they're still working on it. I want to thank you. Looks beautiful. I appreciate everyone that made out time to make this event and possible. Our viewers, and let's not be really heartbroken for our brother that has gone. He fought a good fight for liberation, a good fight of patriotism, a good fight to liberate you and I. So we should let him rest in power, and God Almighty will do the rest. So, ladies and gentlemen, once more, you've been watching The Voice of the Amazonian Woman on ABC TV. We just want to wish you a pleasant weekend as we look forward to the open house of the interim House of Representatives tomorrow. We look forward to other programs that are coming. In a short while, the Ethics Commission will be coming on with the ethics program that is so educating and building our moral qualities, teaching us our identity, reminding us, because people say bribery has eaten us. La Republic has taught us some of those things that people find it very hard to depart with. But when you keep listening to moral qualities, it is taking us somewhere. They will be on in less than now in about 45, yeah, less than an hour from now. Yeah, less than half an hour from now. So in 30 minutes. So please stay tuned and learn, sensitize yourself, share with us, and let God continue to be the one that has called us into this venture. Thank you very much, Barrister. Once again, I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Kidding. I'm kidding.
This melody brings rest to the worried, sunshine to the sad, foster goodwill in businesses. It is nature's best medicine for trouble. Yeah.